Alright, welcome to the Strange North channel. In this video, I'm going to tell you all about the Shag Harbour UFO. This is one of the most prominent sightings in Canadian history, and it's one of many UFO-related events that happened in 1967. And it happened just off the Atlantic coast, near a small fishing village called Shag Harbour in Nova Scotia. And I'm just going to jump right into the story. So prior to the events of October 4th, there had been a few strange sightings in this area. And I'll start with Air Canada Flight 305. So this plane was flying from the Halifax International Airport to Toronto. And while it was flying over Quebec near the Sherbrooke area, the plane was flying at about 12,000 feet. And First Officer Robert Ralph pointed out to Captain Pierre Charbonneau that there was something strange out the left side of the aircraft at 7:15 p.m. In his official report, the captain of the airplane reported an object tracking the airplane along a parallel course a few miles away. He described it as a brilliantly lit rectangular object with a string of smaller lights trailing it. At 7:19 p.m., the pilots noticed a sizable silent explosion near the large object, and 2 minutes later, a second explosion occurred which faded to a blue cloud around the object. There was another separate sighting in Mahone Bay, and a man named Daryl Dory was with his sister Annette and their mother, and they were sitting on their front porch. They all noticed a large object flying above the southwestern horizon. The next day, Daryl wrote a letter to the Royal Canadian Air Force Greenwood Base commander asking what was flying over the water that evening, as he had never seen anything like it. And then you had the ship MV Nickerson near Sambro, Nova Scotia. While standing at the wheelhouse of this ship, Captain Leo Howard Mersey was looking at 4 blips on Deca radar that were stationary. When he looked up, about 27 kilometers away from the vessel's windows, he could see the 4 bright objects situated in a roughly rectangular formation. The entire crew of nearly 20 fishermen stood on deck and watched the object in the northeastern sky. Captain Mersey radioed the Rescue Coordination Center and the harbor master in Halifax asking for an explanation. And he also filed a report with the Lunenburg RCMP outlining his sighting when they returned to port. And there were also reports by the Halifax Chronicle Herald and local radio stations talking about a glowing object that was seen by many people who called their newsrooms. These reports talked about strange glowing objects flying around Halifax at around 10 p.m. And then on October 4th of 1967, around 11:20 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, there were many reports of something crashing into the waters of Shag Harbour. And there were many varied reports of what happened. The initial report to authorities was made by a local resident, Laurie Wickens, and 4 of his friends as they were driving through Shag Harbour on Highway 3. Apparently, they saw a large craft descending toward the water at about a 45-degree angle. After they got a better view of the object, they said it was floating on the water, and this was about 250 to 300 meters offshore. Laurie Wickens notified the RCMP detachment in Barrington Passage and reported that he saw a large airplane or small airliner crash into the water. Other people simply reported seeing a low-flying lit object head towards the harbor, and multiple witnesses reported hearing a whistling sound like a bomb, then a whoosh sound, and finally a loud bang. RCMP Constable Ron Pound was also driving down Highway 3 en route to Shag Harbour, and he said that he saw 4 lights which he believed were all attached to one craft, and he estimated this craft was about 60 feet long. After spotting this craft, Constable Pound would make his way to the shore to get a better look, and he was accompanied by Police Corporal Victor Warbicki, Constable Ron O'Brien, and other local residents. Constable Pound reported that he saw a yellow light moving slowly on the water and leaving a yellowish foam in its wake. And everyone who had gathered on the shore to look at this thing watched as the craft either moved too far away to be seen or dipped below the water. It was hard to tell. The RCMP contacted the Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax to advise them of the situation and ask them if there were any missing aircraft. Very quickly, a rescue mission was organized, and within half an hour, multiple fishing boats and Coast Guard cutter number 101 rushed to the spot of the sighting. Some crew members on these ships reported seeing yellow foam in the area, indicating something had submerged. However, after extensive searching of the site, nothing else was found, and the search was officially called off at 3 a.m. the following morning. The next morning, the Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax, as well as the NORAD radar station at Vaccaro, Nova Scotia, said that there were no missing civilian or military aircraft that evening. That same day, the Rescue Coordination Center sent a priority telex to the air desk at Canadian Air Force headquarters in Ottawa, which handled all civilian and military UFO sightings. They said that all conventional explanations such as aircraft, flares, etc. had been dismissed, and that this seemed to be a truly mysterious event. The head of the air desk then sent a priority telex to the Canadian Navy headquarters concerning this UFO report and recommended an underwater search. The Navy then sent another telex to the Fleet Diving Unit Atlantic, and they dispatched the HMCS Granby, where divers would search the ocean floor for several days at the site, but they found nothing. And so nothing was found in this initial search, but it really got the attention of local residents. This event was featured in an extensive front page article in the Halifax Chronicle-Herald on October 7th. And this article also mentioned a bunch of the other UFO sightings that had preceded the crash at Shag Harbour. The head of the air desk in Ottawa said the Canadian Air Force was, quote, very interested in this event, saying that they get numerous reports of UFOs, but this one was far more intriguing. And so this initial search really didn't turn up anything concrete, and for a while this just remained a massive mystery in this area. However, many years later, there would be new life breathed into this mystery when MUFON investigators Chris Stiles and Doug Ledger would do extensive research and interview many of the original witnesses, and they uncovered some compelling stories. And these included stories from the military divers that searched underwater at the original site. And according to these MUFON investigators, this is the story that these people told them off the record. So according to these witnesses speaking off the record, the object that was seen at Shag Harbour did in fact submerge beneath the water. This object then left the Shag Harbour area and traveled about 25 miles underwater to a place called Government Point, which was near a submarine detection base. Apparently the object was spotted there and naval vessels were positioned over it. After a couple days, the military was planning an underwater salvage mission when all of a sudden a second UFO joined the first one underwater. So apparently the military was now detecting two objects underwater. It was believed at the time that the second craft arrived to give aid to the first craft. The Navy decided to just sit tight and watch what happened. After about a week of monitoring the two underwater UFOs, some of the ships were called away to investigate a Russian submarine that had entered Canadian waters. And at this point, the two underwater UFOs traveled to the Gulf of Maine with the Navy ships following. And apparently these UFOs then broke the surface of the water and shot away into the air, never to be seen again. And the witnesses that told these stories to these MUFON investigators said that they were fearful of disclosing their experiences. The military members that they talked to feared loss of their pensions, and most of these witnesses were just concerned about being ridiculed and not believed and having their privacy being invaded. And so these stories uncovered by these MUFON investigators were not included in the official story, but they were absolutely fascinating and they really invigorated the mystery surrounding this event. And to this day, there remains a very healthy debate over what happened at Shag Harbour on October 4th of 1967. And this event has cemented itself into Canadian lore. Very close to the site of the original event, the Shag Harbour Incident Interpretive Centre is open year-round, and it even includes a gift shop. And about 3 minutes up the road from the Interpretive Centre is the site of the incident, and this is clearly marked and it has a picnic area with a gazebo. And so this event remains one of Canada's most well-known UFO sightings. And like I mentioned, this is one of many UFO-related events that happened in Canada in 1967. And I've always just been fascinated by the story. I personally feel that this was a legitimate event, that these people were witnessing something that cannot be easily explained. Whether it's extraterrestrial or secret military craft, I have no idea. And if you're in Nova Scotia, I would definitely recommend checking out the Interpretive Centre, as well as the original location of the alleged crash just up the road. I hope you found that interesting and informative, and if you're interested in watching more of my content in general, please consider subscribing to my channel. I upload about one new video per week. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Strange North channel.